Emily's canvas of resilience. The golden ticket. The letter sat on Emily's scarred wooden kitchen table, its embossed gold seal shimmering under the dim light of her studio. The Vanguard Gallery was the pinnacle of the art world. For an artist from a town where art usually meant faded murals on old barns, this was impossible. "We did it, Whiskers," Emily whispered, stroking the orange tabby. She looked at her canvasy landscapes of rolling hills and stormy skies. She had 6 months to produce 10 new pieces. She worked until her fingers were stained indigo and her eyes burned. She was painting her way out of poverty, one brush stroke at a time. The sound of the telephone. The momentum was broken by a single, sharp ring in the middle of the night. It wasn't the gallery, it was her aunt. Her mother had collapsed. The transition was jarring. One day Emily was researching high-end frames in Soho. The next, she was in a sterilized hospital room in her hometown, the smell of oil paints replaced by the sharp scent of antiseptic. Her mother looked fragile, like a piece of charcoal sketch that could be smudged away with a single touch. "Go back, Em," her mother whispered, her voice a papery thin rasp. "Don't let me be the reason your colors fade." The studio in the dark. Emily didn't go back, not yet. She moved her easel into her mother's small bedroom. She didn't paint the bright, vivid landscapes the New York gallery expected. Instead, she began to paint the weight. She painted the shadows under her mother's eyes. She painted the gnarled, strong hands that had raised her. She painted the way the sunset looked through the hospital-grade blinds. These weren't beautiful in the traditional sense, but they were raw. They were the truth of a daughter's love. The gamble. With 3 weeks left, her mother's condition stabilized. "If you don't go," her mother threatened with a weak but firm smile, "I'll walk to New York myself." Emily arrived in Manhattan with crates of paintings that were nothing like her previous work. The gallery owner, a sharp woman named Eleanor, looked at the new, somber, emotional pieces. The silence in the gallery was deafening. "These aren't the bright landscapes we discussed, Emily," Eleanor said, her face unreadable. "No," Emily replied, her voice steady for the first time in months. "This is what happened when the light went out. It's more real." The opening night. The gallery was packed with the elite of the New York art scene. Emily stood in the corner in a thrifted black dress, feeling like an imposter. She watched a famous critic stop in front of a painting titled "The 4 a.m. Vigil." It showed a single chair bathed in the blue light of a television. The critic stood there for 10 minutes. Then, he turned to Emily with tears in his eyes. "Most artists paint what they see," he said. "You've painted what it feels like to love someone more than yourself." By the end of the night, every piece was sold. Emily was a success, but as she stepped out into the crisp New York air, she didn't call an agent. She called her mother. Chapter 6. The price of gold. Success brought a whirlwind Emily wasn't prepared for. Her phone didn't stop ringing. Collectors wanted the next masterpiece, and magazines wanted to photograph her modest life. Eleanor, the gallery owner, pushed her for a follow-up show within 6 months. "The world has a short memory, Emily," Eleanor warned over a glass of expensive champagne. "You need to strike while the iron is hot." But back in her studio, the canvas felt like a wall. Every time she picked up a brush, she felt the eyes of 1,000 critics watching her. The raw honesty that had fueled her paintings in the hospital was gone, replaced by the crushing pressure to be brilliant again. She was no longer painting for herself as she was painting for a market. The return of the shadow. Emily returned to Oakhaven for the weekend to celebrate her mother's full recovery. The town treated her like a hero. There was a banner across Main Street, home of the famous Emily Vance. While cleaning the attic of her childhood home, she found an old, dusty wooden box. Inside were her father's sketches. He had passed away when she was a toddler. They weren't professional, but they were filled with joy. He had sketched the way the wind caught the wheat fields, and the way Emily looked as a baby. She realized that in her rush to satisfy New York, she had lost the vividness that started it all. She wasn't an artist because she was a success. She was an artist because she loved the world. Great rejection. Emily returned to New York with a bold decision. She called Eleanor and told her she wouldn't be doing the follow-up show in 6 months. "I'm not a machine, Eleanor," Emily said. "I'm going back to Oakhaven for a year. I'm going to open a community art center for the kids there. I'll paint when the paint has something to say." Eleanor was furious, predicting the end of Emily's career. But as Emily packed her apartment, she felt a lightness she hadn't felt since the golden letter first arrived. She realized that the prestigious gallery wasn't the destination, it was just a stop along the way. The legacy. A year later, the Oakhaven Art House opened in an old renovated barn. It wasn't just for painting, it was a place where people came to tell their stories. Emily taught children how to mix colors, and she taught the elderly how to capture their memories. One afternoon, a car pulled up. It was the famous critic from her first show. He hadn't come for an interview, he had come to see the mural of the town Emily and her students had painted on the side of the building. "They said you disappeared," the critic said, looking at the massive, vibrant mural. "No," Emily smiled, her hands covered in a mess of blue and green paint as Whiskers sat nearby in a patch of sun. "I just finally found where the light was coming from." The end.